Right, up here next on the show, we are talking about how staycations are on the rise as cost and travel concerns are reshaping Irish holiday plans. Travel uncertainty, rising costs and a growing focus on value for money are reshaping how people are planning their summer breaks, with new research showing more than 8 in 10 Irish holidaymakers are concerned about flight disruption. A survey of over 2,160 adults in Ireland, which was commissioned by Hastings Hotels, highlights a clear shift towards holidays closer to home, with a fifth of respondents now avoiding overseas travel altogether. The findings also show strong demand for family staycations and short domestic breaks, with 38% saying a staycation will be their main holiday this year. Well, for more on this, delighted to be joined by Sean Lally, he's the chair of Clare Tourism Advisory Forum, and also by Lorna Cahill, who is a Miltown Malbay Airbnb host. Good morning to you both. Sean, these trends that are outlined in this report, is this something that you're witnessing at ground level?
It is. I think there's a huge air of uncertainty and cautiousness out there, and that's probably not good for international travel because, you know, people just want certainty around it, and there's so much going on in the world, and between inflation and oil and delays and that type of stuff, it just leads to an air of uncertainty. And when things like that happen, it probably, it'll make people look at closer to home. What is the safer option? Pack everyone into the car and head down to the Banner County. And I think if this continues to happen, I think Clare is probably one of the best counties in Ireland in terms of being well placed to take advantage of a domestic upturn in tourism. And it could end up being very like the year after we opened for COVID, because like we're close to a lot of the population bases. You have motorways, you have the train and bus network, and if you look at the array of offerings that we have in the county, we certainly have. I'm not sure there's any county in Ireland can match us between the coast, the Wild Atlantic Way, the whole East there, the offering there, the Burn, Loop Hedge, our castles, our history, our outdoor attractions. We are extremely well placed to take advantage of a kind of a domestic upturn in tourism. And to be fair as well, I think a lot of the offerings, hotel and Airbnb wise, are family run, and they know the value of tourism. And, they're not big institutions that maybe, they lash up the price when they see an opportunity. I think there's very good value to be had in County Clare, and always has been over the years.
Lorna, a similar question to yourself. Is it a trend that you're kind of seeing in reality, as we'll call it?
It is very much so. I've actually had a look at my calendar, and would you believe that in June and July I only have one foreign booking, if you like, and they are Australians. Everybody else that's booking is Irish. And I actually spoke to Airbnb yesterday, and they're saying that their own data shows that domestic bookings are growing faster than international ones, and that's right across Europe, and that's for this summer. They were saying that most people are moving away from city breaks. Guests are looking to reconnect with nature. The Wild Atlantic Way would be the most popular here in Ireland at the moment, followed by Donegal, Kerry, Connemara. They are all particularly popular this year, and it seems to be Irish people wanting to rediscover their own areas.
And Sean, I'm just wondering, is it almost a people often talk about the double-edged sword. I'm wondering this one maybe has a couple of edges to it, insofar as your overseas traveller, is there, if they don't come, is that going to be a hit, or will it be offset by the lads that are staying at home?
I think it'll be offset. Now, I don't believe we're going to be in that situation. I think we're still going to have the overseas travellers. I think the US market seems to be still quite strong. There is a little bit of cautiousness about maybe later in the year, all right. The golf market is exceptionally strong. And I suppose this year in County Clare, between the Walker Cup and the Amgen Irish Open in September, I mean, that is, the level of interest in golf as a result has been huge, and lots of people are looking at the county for golfing breaks as a result of that. We also have a nice sprinkling of festivals as well. You look at the flag going on in Ennis this week, the Willie Clancy in July in Miltown Malbay. You have 6 concerts in Thomond Park. They're in Limerick, but that always leads to a kind of a spread of bedroom business into County Clare, whereas there was only 3 there last year. Even the likes of the Tour de Burn in June, which is kind of a huge boost as well. The whole cycling race and a number of other cycling events as well in Clare. So we are well, grounded in terms of festivals and events that go on locally that bring a huge amount of tourism to us.
And Lorna, while we have all these brilliant things going on, is this now maybe a little boost to perhaps even fine-tune things a little bit more? Like, I often think back to when the smoking ban came in, and the amount of public houses and hotels that redeveloped their beer gardens to smoking areas at the time, but they actually became beautiful areas then that kind of evolved into maybe restaurant areas and stuff like that in time. I'm just wondering in terms of this now being an opportunity for Irish tourism providers and hoteliers and Airbnbs to continue to develop the product in order to make this regular rather than a kind of a standout thing.
It definitely is, but unfortunately, Sean's, although we're both in the hospitality sector, for us at the moment in the self-catering, in the short-term let sector, we're actually seeing a drop in bookings of just under 50%. I surveyed a number of hosts yesterday, and it would seem that on average it's just below 50% drop because of our drop of Europeans and Americans coming this year. But we can develop this year for our Irish, if you like, for our staycations, and I think that people should be taking advantage of this in terms of keeping their prices low, providing good value for money, and providing the few little extras, just such as equipment for people to take down to the beach with them. These things make a huge difference.
And also, Lorna, I guess if people haven't decided to splash out whatever it would be for the all-inclusive holiday in Spain or wherever it might be, that money staying locally and being dispersed not only to your own property but to local hotels for a lunch or to wherever it is, even the shop for the couple of ice creams, whatever it might be, that there's a couple of little offshoots here that might benefit in a wider sense.
Most towns and villages in Clare are totally dependent upon tourism, and we need the visitors to come. We need to have the accommodation for them. The knock-on effect on everything from the local corner shop to the pubs, the restaurants and the local hotels is huge, but it's much needed, and we have to have that boost over the summer months, or unfortunately we'll see more doors closing come the winter.
And Sean, on that, Lorna raises the point of keep making sure as much as possible anyway that things can be kept, we'll say, value for money. How important is that to make this sustainable? If there is, I suppose, trying to make something sustainable amid ongoing uncertainty might sound a strange thing to say, but we don't know if there's going to be an end to these oil prices and the uncertainty around all that. So to make it something that an Irish market can say, look, there's value for money here in this, let's keep it going.
No, you're 100% right, Derrick, and I think value for money is going to be one of the most critical things this summer, in particular with the domestic market. And to be fair, I made the point earlier, lots of the businesses in Clare are family run. They know the value of tourism. They know it's there year in, year out, and it can't be abused. You've got to look at the long term here, and there is very, very good value. And I even see in our own case, there's lots of nights throughout the summer months we have rooms for 129 room only, which is good value for high season in County Clare with what we have on our doorstep. So I do believe that value is out there. And hopefully, because we're such an outdoor county, hopefully if we get the sun to shine. I know there was a record broken yesterday in Shannon Airport at 28.6 degrees centigrade for May. If we see a few more weeks like we have this week in terms of weather, it puts everyone in a good mood and gets people out and gets people travelling, and because the domestic market is very much last minute, and if they see good weather coming up, the Clare is ideally suited to pick up in that kind of last minute domestic tourism. But I still think that the international market will play a very significant part in County Clare's tourism this year. And if you look at Shannon Airport, they have 40 routes this year, which is up from the 36 or 37 last year. So that the highest number in many a year there. I think that's very, very important, and hopefully those routes will be strong, both going in and going out of the airport.
And Lorna, on that point of the last minute booker, and as we can see, the weather, I heard there on our 10 o'clock news, highs of 30 degrees today, is incredible to think really. But, we saw some savage shots all over the news yesterday of the west coast of Clare and all the rest of it. But for businesses then like yourselves, maybe to adapt to meet that increasing demand, that will create challenges ultimately, but I suppose it will be worth it in the long run.
we're finding that most bookings this year are coming in at last minute, usually around a week before. But people are prepared, and if bookings are coming in on the same day for the day, we're here and we're open and we're ready to take them.
And that's a serious vote of confidence, Lorna, isn't it? Maybe in those that are doing the booking, that they kind of know, well, look at this, what my need is going to be met here, and I'm coming to a quality place with a quality product.
Definitely. I mean, I can, in terms of myself, I'm actually vacant today. I might as well plug that now. And it's up until 3 p.m. today, anybody can book. But for other short-term lets around the county, people can book up until 6-7 o'clock this evening for the same day. So people can be assured that if they are watching the weather and they want to be 100% sure that it is going to be a beautiful day, they can book on the same day. Now, you mightn't get a vacancy if you do leave it till the very last minute, but chances are at the moment you will find somewhere.
And Sean, are you seeing something similar? Would you get many last-minute bookings like that?
I am, and it's not just the domestic market that's last minute, it's actually the international market. Like years ago, the US market in particular would be booking a year to a year and a half in advance. Now it's down to weeks, sometimes days. So that whole market has changed. Now that's a little bit scary sometimes if you're looking into later this year and you're thinking, oh God, where's all that business going to come from? But it still seems to come in, and you look back every year in your occupancy during the summer months, and you're always jammed high 90s occupancy in May, June, July, August, because there is a serious demand for Clare, and that's because of the tourism offering we have. You know, so be it international or domestic, I think we will still fare very well this year, despite all the uncertainty out there. My hope is that we have a blended offering of both the international and domestic market, because obviously that international market is very important for year-round business for us.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we thank you both for joining us there this morning on that, and make the most of the weather in every sense of the word. That's Sean Lally, the chair of the Clare Tourism Advisory Forum, and Lorna Cahill, who is an Airbnb host based out in Miltown Malbay.